Welcome to the other side of 40. My name is April Grant, and I'm here to help women make positive changes with their lives after the age of 40. Let the other side of 40 become your community to find inspiration and support to start the next chapter of your life. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of The Other Side of 40. I can't even speak this morning. I have here with me Nanea Hoffman, and she is the owner and founder of Sweatpants and Coffee. She's going to tell you all about herself, but I just wanted to ask her, what is your awakening moment?
My awakening moment happened back in 2013. I was 43. I was a stay-at-home mom who was finding that I no longer had to dedicate as much time to my children because they were school age at this point. You know, my son's in high school. My daughter is, she's at kind of this, not the self-managing age, but you're not like wiping butts every moment. And so that kind of left me some space to think about, what is my life? Am I happy? By all accounts, I have a good life. I have a good family. I have a good situation, but I was not fulfilled because I had given away so much of my identity, willingly, but it's what we do. And I was dealing with some mental health stuff. And one day I was just taking a shower and thinking, what does make me happy? What do I like? Sweatpants and coffee. And I thought, oh man, I just want to talk about things that I love, things that make me feel comfortable. And, a little background, I grew up in Hawaii. And I was a huge nerd before nerds were even cool. Like I was just the kid who was like, reading about dragons during recess while everybody else is trying to kill each other in dodgeball. I was also the scrawniest kid. So, that was like school sanctioned violence. I wasn't going to be part of that. But I had always had this yearning to find there had to be other people like me. And when I was growing up, we didn't have the internet where I could just go on Tumblr and find, 100 people who are into the same thing I'm into.
Right.
So when I'm having my shower moment, I'm thinking, man, this is going to be like Walt Whitman, Song of Myself. I'm going to send my barbaric yawp out into the universe. I'm going to just write about what I love, and maybe a few people will read it and I'll find some kindred souls. And so right then I came out of the shower, I'm like dripping wet. I went and bought the URL for Sweatpants and Coffee because I'm like, oh, I love that name. I need to just buy it. And then I had a friend who, she was an editor. She's in the publishing business. And she said, okay, go ahead and lock down your Twitter account. Go ahead and lock down the Facebook page, whether or not you're going to do anything with it, which by the way, I advise if you have an idea, it doesn't cost that much. It's free to reserve the Facebook page and the Twitter page and the Instagram. You don't have to launch, but you want that so that when you're ready to move forward, you don't find that somebody else has taken, your account name.
I completely agree.
And then the first part was we launched a Facebook page while the website, because I always envisioned that I was going to have a website. And while that was being built, I decided I'll start a Facebook page. And this was back when, when people would like things on Facebook and it would say so-and-so likes this, like Moms Who Drink and Swear, whose page I loved. Like Nanea loves moms who drink and swear. Yeah. So Sweatpants and Coffee turned out to be perfect during that time because everybody wanted to say, oh, Karen likes Sweatpants and Coffee, Yeah. So we had a lot of fans just based on the name. I say we, but it was me in the beginning. I had a lot of encouragement from friends, but I really thought it was just going to be a personal blog, a passion project. And it just resonated with people so much that I had to ask for help. I had to ask friends like, hey, can you help me, mod this page? Can you, would you guys be interested in writing stuff for my website too? Because I don't know. And I was able to get a lot of really talented, good-hearted people who were willing to contribute, their pieces, their talent and their stories. And it was such a gift. And we were all kind of talking about the same thing. And, it just kind of grew organically. So I also want to tell people you can be 43 and have no idea how to build a website, how to run a website, how to do social media. But if you have something that is really dear to you and you're going to speak about it authentically, go ahead and do it. You don't have to have a business plan. That can grow organically. I would say that 7 years later, I know people, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
That's my alarm. I have short-term memory issues, so I got to set alarms for everything. By the way, that also won't hold you back.
No.
Just good people to remind you when you have to do your stuff. But I would say 7 years later, I know more stuff than what college kids go to school. You know, they go there to learn how to be social media community managers. And I just think there's no one size fits all. So all the stuff you're learning in school may be irrelevant by the time you get out. You learn by doing, and you learn by being responsive to your audience. You know, in the beginning, we tried to publish everything on the website, anything, because also we're scrambling for content. So if somebody's like, hey, I have a poem, do you want me to publish it? And I'm like, yeah, I'll take it. I need something for Saturday. So yeah, send it. But then what we did after about 4 years was we reassessed and we said, okay, what are people, what do they want? What are the things they're responding to? And for us, it was I know people hate them, but you know, listicles, which I also love because
people love a listicle.
We're busy. We want to know, okay, 10 things. All right, great. I can hang in for 10 things, my 10 favorite, whatever, pop stars or something. They love that and they're fun. And then they also loved narrative storytelling. So we would do like the little short bites and then longer essays, where the kind where you bookmark it because you want to sit down with your cup of coffee and read it and hear somebody else's journey. So those were the things we found. And then of course, coffee and all that stuff. And out of that, out of seeing what people love, out of thinking about what we love, a product line grew. Of course, we have coffee. We connected with a roaster and you know, we figured that out, coffee mugs. And then, you know, all the usual merch, right? T-shirts, all that stuff. But the biggest one would be the anxiety blob. First of all, me, I am an anxiety blob. It's how I describe myself. And I one day created a meme for Sweatpants and Coffee that featured this little doodle of my anxiety, which looks like a vaguely worried potato. It just felt right when I drew it. And also I started drawing things for my brand because couldn't afford to pay an artist. And I didn't want to violate anybody's copyright. And I thought, well, maybe I can do it myself. I'm also not an artist. Even though I draw and create all those things, I look at and I see everything I did wrong and everything that looks like a kindergartner drew it with their left hand, but whatever, it's me. And that little doodle eventually became a plush mental health mascot, which is available on Amazon now. If you go and look, it's in our store. But even that, we started in very small batches. We could afford to pay this wonderful crafter to produce very small batches, and then we'd put them up for sale and they would sell out. And we'd be like, wow. So we'd take the money from that and put it into another batch. I mean, we weren't making money. It's taken probably 7 years to get where we are. And I wouldn't say that, you know, we're not like a huge profitable enterprise, but we're becoming one. Right. And I'm starting to see it take shape. And so also you need to have, it needs to be something you love so that you can hang in for 7 years. Something you would do for free, something that you would do because it fulfills you. So my awakening was figuring out what fulfills me. And really at that point, it was just like throwing a dart, like, oh yeah, I guess these things. And then as I did it, I didn't know that I was going to talk about mental health, but like, that's what's going on in my life. You know, you and I had talked about you being a mommy blogger, and I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm a mommy blogger, but I talk about my life. So I have talked about my parenting experience. I was a caregiver for my mother. So I was kind of in that sandwich space of caring for children and caring for my mother, going through my own stuff where it's like, oh, you've been taking the wrong medication for 3 years. No wonder you're bonkers right now. You need something that's going to help. Like, this is going to work a lot better for you. And as I'm going through this, I'm talking about it to my audience. And the number one response that we get is always, oh my God, me too. Like, thank you for saying that. I'm not the only one. And I think that's why people love mommy blogs, because motherhood is a tough gig and it's lonely.
It is.
There's so many times when it's isolating. So thank God for the internet. You can click on when they're asleep or something, or otherwise occupied, and connect with other grownups who are having common experiences. And I would say that was the driving force of what I guess is now my brand. Just being genuine, looking to connect, being super weird. I tell people, like, do not hide your weirdness. Let it out, because how else are the other weirdos going to find you? Like, the right ones for you.
Right.
You have to be yourself.
No, I've never considered weird as a insult.
Right.
I tell my kids all the time, you're weird. And I say, but I'm weird too. And that's what makes us us. Because if we weren't, quote unquote, weird, then we'd all be the same and we'd all be boring and no one would everyone would be the exact same person. But the whole point of living is being weird and finding that tribe, finding that group that shares that weirdness with you. And that's okay.
Yeah. I mean, so we put up a part of our like posting schedule on, the whole social media aspect, which I had to learn just instinctively. One of the things we do is we'll put up these little thoughts that are always, it's my self-dialogue, my like constant neurotic self-dialogue. And I'll just write something down that feels like, oh, I need to say this to myself. And then I'll put it in a graphic, which I usually create, and we put it up. And in the beginning, it was really just me wanting to express myself, like little microblogs almost. And the first quote that went viral for us, which at the time was like, it had 30,000 likes when I woke up in the morning. I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. I had just done it like literally on my phone before I went to sleep. And then I woke up in the morning and that had happened. And it was, I can't remember the whole quote, but it was our first thing that went viral. And it was basically, when you find people who basically embrace your flaws and your quirks with glad cries of me too, like cherish those people, because those weirdos are your tribe. And so then Weirdo Tribe just went viral. And I thought, oh my God, maybe this is my weirdo tribe. This is so exciting. Yeah. I've not had that experience. So I think a lot of people want that connection and they want that validation, that like, it's like, I'm like you, I'll tell my kids they're weird, but I'm saying it with like affection. Like, you're so weird.
Yeah. I mean, I love their weirdness because it's all different and it brings me joy and it brings them joy. We get to do weird things together, and it also embraces their creativity because that means we're doing different things I would have never, ever dreamed of doing because they just came up with it in their head. And I say, okay, let's do it. And they go, really? Sure, why not? I don't know why not. Because I've never seen anyone do it. Nope, but we're gonna do it today. So no, it's lovely.
Yeah, and it's I really encourage that. I think especially with my daughter, that don't change who you are. Yeah. Even if you feel lonely because you feel like you're the only one of your kind, because you're the only one who thinks this way. You're not the only one who feels that way, but who cares about the things that you care about, or who looks at the world the way you do. First of all, the world needs all those different viewpoints. And second of all, the more you become yourself, the closer you are to finding your people and finding purpose. The other thing I encourage people to do is reach out to your community, especially your community of good women. You need your sisters if you are going to do something like this. And I think that we're cooperative people. We want to help each other and lift each other up, but you got to raise your hand and say, hey, would you, just think about what we're doing with this anthology that you and I are part of, I Just Want to Hang Out with You, which I love the title.
Yes.
That's such a cooperative community of women, and it becomes bigger than itself. Sweatpants and Coffee would not exist without this. I can't even count how many people were so generous with their time, with their talent, with their expertise. And I think it's also our job to pass that on. You know, I was helped, so I want to help, because I wouldn't, there's things you just don't know. You can't know until you do it.
Right.
But if somebody has gone before and they can give you, you know, a little bit of a point in the right direction, and point out, okay, you want to avoid this. Here's what worked for me. I think it's really important. There's room out there for everybody. A long time ago, I heard that on the internet, you die in a vacuum, which means, I think, to me, if you only care about promoting yourself, you're going to have a certain level of success. But then once you've used up all your friends and family connections, that's it.
Right.
You're not going to get any bigger. You have reached the limit of your circle. But if you are cooperative with people, if you expand your circle, then you will continue to grow, and it's good for everybody. So it's like this amazing ecosystem that we get to be a part of.
Yeah, I mean, I think of that. So for me, I started a podcast and a blog, and really I just asked a very good friend of mine if she would be the editor of the blog, because I saw it for something bigger than what I could do and manage successfully. And I was so happy she said yes. And it's been great so far. I've really appreciated it. I've appreciated her work. I'm working with her. I'm actually teaching my son to do some of the social media stuff, and I'm allowing him to be creative. And I'm like, go for it. I'm like, I'll reject the things I don't like, but otherwise, just, I want you to do all the things that come to your mind. And then we have contributing writers as well for the same reason, because I don't want it to be about my experience. I want it to be about experience and what you can learn or feel comfort in, as opposed to just feeling alone. And I think that's in our age right now, we have totally lost a sense of community. And you don't know, like, most people don't know their neighbors. I mean, I know some of my neighbors, but I'm also on the HOA board. If I wasn't on the HOA board, I'd probably just know 2 or 3 people in the whole community. And that's just kind of how we're structured. We're not structured to have close relationships with people. And I think back to when you were saying in high school or whatever, you're reading your books. I had a group of friends, and we were all the nerds, and we called ourselves the losers. And because we were kind of, we were just the people who were left out of a lot of, we didn't really go to the parties. Our parents were all strict.
Same.
We couldn't go anywhere. We didn't ditch school. We were all in honors classes. So people always, felt that we thought we were better than them. It's like, no, I just do my work.
I go to class.
And go to class. Like, I was like, I never really thought about anybody being, smarter or not smart. It was just, I did my work. And most of the people that were in those other classes just didn't do their work. It wasn't even, I don't even know if they were smart. I was like, I felt they just didn't care. And I was just like, that's a choice.
Right.
So
well, I think that comes down to, people talk about finding tribe, and okay, like, don't come at me. I am a native Hawaiian person, and also I understand what the meaning of tribe is. If you're talking about Native Americans, they are nations because they were civilizations with governments and, laws and infrastructure and all of that. But a tribe, and if you really think about it, it's people who share the same values.
Yes.
Who have maybe the same worldview or the same goals in mind. And like you said, I think the way the world is now, human beings are at once more connected because of the internet and technology, and also more disconnected.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to be siloed and to only stay in your little world. And I think people are craving that connection. I see that so many times. Like anytime we'll post something about friendship or about, finding your community, there are always people, and it's heartbreaking, who comment and say, I'm 60 years old and I still haven't found my friends. I haven't found my tribe. I'm so lonely. And one, I think that's very, very brave to just, as an adult, to say that you're lonely. Like, we understand that kids have to be in new situations and make friends.
Right.
But when you're an adult and you're in your life and everybody else is in their life, and you look around and maybe you want to connect with people, but like nobody around you is auditioning for new friends. They're like,
right,
I got it, I'm good. You cannot sit with us,
Yeah.
It's, what do you do? And I think it starts with admitting, I'm lonely. I want connection. I want to talk to people about the things that I love talking about. And I would love it if their eyes would light up and be like, oh my God, me too. So creating an opportunity for people to say that, whether it's on my platform or in your podcast, where people can talk about what matters to them, I think it's so, so important, especially right now. Like, we all need to like join hands and get through this moment that we're in.
Definitely. And that's a thing. Like, I had this conversation with my husband not too long ago, because I'm like, I am lonely in a lot of ways. And I'm like, but I also don't want to do any of the work that it requires to maintain a friendship. Like, I love my friends, but I also love that I can call them once every 3 weeks and they're just okay with the fact that I haven't talked to them in a few weeks.
Right.
So it's like, I'm good. I mean, sometimes I'm like, oh, I wish I could hang out. I wish I had someone to call tonight. But I guess when I really think about it, I do. I just never call, and I never, plan anything. And I don't always particularly want to. Like,
I like to be invited.
Yeah.
And then I have to fight my brain because it's always going to be like, cancel.
Yeah.
Like, dude, these are people who love me.
Yes. I'm
And
like, but
no, you're tired. Stay home.
I'm already in my sweatpants and in my bed.
It's over.
It's over. The day is over. The day is shot. So yeah, it's been interesting, and COVID's, kind of brought that out a lot more, because, now you don't even have the opportunity to go a lot of places or do a lot of things. And the craving for that personal relationship with your friends, and just getting together and talking. And, when I went out with my friends last night, and it was so nice to just talk, instead of, and not have to have a phone or a kid in the background saying, hey, mom, I need you. Mom, come over here and help me. I'm hungry. Just have, girl time. And it was just so calm and so nice. And you were just able to laugh and have fun. So, I mean, I'm happy where I am. And I'm happy that I'm building a community to have those types of relationships online and off.
Right.
But go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say, thinking about what you're talking about with community and with your friends, I think it's also really important that we reevaluate what we mean by community. You've probably seen online, I know I have seen online, people who are like, get off the internet and live real life. And I'm like, it is important to get off the internet, but don't tell people who are on the internet and making connections there that that's not real life.
Right.
First of all, my business wouldn't exist without my computer friends.
Right.
Like my business, I have business partners now, and they are all over the country. And this is how we connect. But also, it's a little bit ableist, because for some people, this is their window to the world. Like I remember when I was going through breast cancer, I mean, I was laying on a bed. I couldn't do anything, but I could still get online. And I was kind of lurky during that time. I just wanted to go on Instagram and see what people had for lunch and, what they were up to. And it was such a gift. So people shouldn't be down on themselves if you're in a moment where that's your community. I do think it's important to create a real life community, but sometimes that's the first step, because it builds confidence. It makes you know, oh, I'm likable.
Yes.
I am worthy of a friendship. Like, I'm a cool person for people to be friends with. People will like me. And sometimes you start on the outside and work your way in. Sometimes you work your way out the other way. So we shouldn't be so hard on ourselves that we're feeling that loneliness and that desire to connect. You're not a loser. My group of friends, we thought of ourselves the same way, but we're not. We weren't
No,
losers.
I don't think we actually thought we were losers, but
Right.
it was just, that's how, kind of the high school aspect, that was kind
Right.
of our place.
Right.
But it makes me think of, so I watch way too much reality TV and I enjoy it. And I'm part of this group. I listen to another podcast, and there's a group, and I have found so many friends in this listening to a podcast, just fans of a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And so earlier this year, my son, for his birthday, got the game Animal Crossing. And I don't know anything about it, but I wanted to kind of connect with him. So if you know anything about it, it's you have an island. The person who buys the game owns an island, and then they choose who gets to live on their island. So my son was gracious enough to allow me to live on his island. But I had no idea how to play the game. And apparently when you first start, like, it goes through all the rules. But because I wasn't the main person to start, I had no idea. I'm just like, oh yeah, you kind of go do this. And he would tell me a couple things. And then the podcast that I listened to formed like a group of people who play this game.
No, wait, what's the podcast?
It's called Watch What Crappens.
Oh my God, I love that podcast.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
that's
So
hilarious.
there's an Animal Crossing group specifically for fans who play Animal Crossing and listen to the podcast. So we have so much fun, and they've taught me so much on how to play the game. I've gone to visit their islands. They've come to visit my island. And it's just to find the community of people who, because we're adults playing this game, and, you kind of get the side eye sometimes when you talk to someone. You're like, yeah, I play Animal Crossing. And they're like, what's that? And I'm like, it's a game. I get to play with my son. I get to play with friends. I get to play with all of them. And it's a non-competition game. So it's very it's more about design and creativity and building than it is about like trying to be better than somebody. And
Right.
So it's fun.
My daughter loves that game. And of course it came out right at the time of COVID. So everybody needed something to do, to think about. And so you're a nicer mom than I am because you'll play the game. And I'm like, oh, sweetie, I do love it. But like, mommy's not good at video games. But then I watched her play it. And I don't think this is an overshare because she's comfortable with it. But like me, she has anxiety disorder.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the ways that you cope with that, like legitimately, two therapists have told me this, is pleasant distraction, because it gives your brain rest. You can't be churning all the time. And I watched her play it, and it's like the way you described it. It's not one of those stressful competitive games. It's like she's doing all the things that she loves to do anyway. She's like designing her room and making outfits and, I don't know, gathering fruit or something.
Yep.
And it just gives you, like, you get to be immersed in that world. And I was relaxing just watching her. I'm like, I didn't even need to play. I'll just sit here and I'll watch you play. Yeah. So I can see how like comforting that is.
Yeah.
And when the outside world is just a huge mess.
Right. And it's just, so he gave me my house, and I have like a fenced yard, and then I have a beach, and that's my island. That's my area I can do anything with. The rest of it, I can't really do anything with the island. But it's fun because it gives us like very fun and friendly banter. So like, we're talking about it, and I talk about, how he likes certain people. And there was one villager. So each villager is an AI, and they have a certain personality type, and how we were trying to get rid of one of them because we could force them to leave because we didn't like them because they were kind of mean.
Can I ask which one? Because my daughter has hers. Like, she's like, oh my God, look at her. She's awful. I hate her.
Oh, we got rid of Spike, and I got rid of Rhonda. Those are the two that I did not like. But yeah, it's just so fun. And someone in the Crappens group is talking about Rocket. They don't like Rocket, and Rocket is like, she screenshotted it, and Rocket looks pissed. And she's like, Rocket's so mean and angry, and you get mail from your villagers, and so the villagers Rocket sent her something in the mail, and with a present, and said, I hope you use it, and if you don't, I will know.
Oh my God.
My goodness, you're like, this is a video. But it's all in fun, and we just enjoy and laugh, and it is definitely a pleasant distraction from all of the chaos and the monotony of even just sitting here for COVID or thinking about not going places, and how today would be Sunday, so you would be going to church, but we can't go to church because it's shut down, or any of that. I did want to ask, where in Hawaii are you from?
I grew up in Honolulu.
Okay.
I grew up in Oahu. For people from Hawaii who it might be listening, my high school was Kamehameha. We call that the Hawaiian genealogy. The first thing they ask is, what high school did you go to?
Gotcha.
And then the second question is, do you know my cousin?
Yeah.
So that was, I grew up in Hawaii. After I got married, my husband and I lived in Japan for 3 years. At the time he's a white boy, by the way, but he was an actor model in Japan when we got married. And so I moved over there, and I taught English for a little bit. And then we lived in the Seattle area for a little while. And we've been here. I'm in Santa Clara right now, California. And we've been here since 2001.
Yeah, I'm from California, but my best friend lives in Haleva.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
North Shore, yeah.
Yeah, North Shore. I've been there once, a long time ago, and I really want to get back out there. And it's beautiful. But yeah, she's Hawaiian as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where she's always lived since that was the last station her husband had. He was a military guy. So that was their last station, was on North Shore. So, or on the island. But yeah, I mean, I just asked that question. It was random. But I did want to talk about the anthology that you mentioned, because I have not discussed that on the podcast. We are both contributors to an anthology called I Just Want to Hang Out With You, which is a book and a collaboration of moms who are sharing stories wanting to hang out with their teenage sons. So if you've seen my social media, I post about it. My story is called The Election at 1800, and I kind of gave it a byline. I just want to take you to Hamilton. That's my story. And what's your story about?
So my story is a little bit different. And I don't think I knew the theme of the anthology when Jen found me. Like, I'd been a fan of I Just Want to Be Alone, because who doesn't love that name, and who hasn't had that thought?
Yes.
But what she had found was an essay of mine that had originally appeared on Sweatpants and Coffee, called Nerd Maste. The divine awkward in me honors the divine awkward in you.
Okay.
And so my story was about basically what I would tell my younger self, like kind of like revealing what my childhood was like, and kind of, how I was different. And those were good differences, but it was lonely. And like, I didn't ever know at 12, I didn't know that I was going to find my people. So it's sort of like, just hang on, because the age of the internet is coming, and the other nerds are going to find you, and these are going to be your people, and it's going to be amazing. And all the things that make you feel weird and other and less than are going to be the things that make you successful, and that make you that make people want to be your friend. So don't lose that. So that's my story. And maybe it's, I just want to hang out with anybody, and I hope they find me.
Well, I mean, that is a perspective to, kind of open the eyes of some of the parents who are reading the book about, relating to their child and helping them through a tough time. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's awesome. But yeah, I was very excited. I've been following her for a while. The first anthology I was in was Lose the Cape. And that was more about, it was an argument. I forgot the subtitle for it, but it was about, couple issues. But that was, gosh, a long time ago. I want to say like 7 years or so.
Yeah.
And then I was very excited to write again for an anthology. I have all of these like partial book manuscripts written. And it was nice just to be able to write one essay that can go in a book and actually get published. So, I can go to my nice Amazon page and have 2 books there.
Sure, yeah.
And I'm looking forward to doing more and hopefully actually finishing my own manuscripts as well.
That's another reason to find community, is to find a group of people who are going to be like, hey, did you sit down? Did you get your butt in the chair this week and, write 100 crappy words or whatever?
That is so true. I have 2 girlfriends who do that constantly. Hey, you said you were working on X. Are you done? Have you done it? Are you ready? Can I promote it? I'm ready to promote it. Can you,
Right.
Open. So it's amazing. Before we sign off, I just want to, I want people to be able to find you. So I think you've mentioned quite a bit already. Sweatpants and Coffee.
Yeah.
Pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
So
Sweatpants and Coffee on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter we're Sweatpants Cafe because there weren't enough letters in the name, but and of course there's a website, sweatpantsandcoffee.com.
Nice. Well, thank you for coming on. I know this was a super impromptu interview because of our meeting about going live. By the time this airs, I think we would have gone live already, so I'm not going to promote that. But check her out on Instagram and everywhere. And thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of The Other Side of 40. You can find us at our site, theothersideof40.com, and on Pinterest, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Other Side 40.